So our levels of disbelief as humans can be pretty amazing. So I remember way back in the day, way back in the day, there was this woman, her whole brand was sell your brain food. So I'm talking like back around 2000 or something like that. And she would talk about webinars. And she talked about how she did a webinar and she made $60,000 in sales. And I was like, I just flat out don't believe that. I don't believe you. I don't believe that. And, the crazy thing is at that time, I already was successful. I had already done my first six-figure launch. So like, why was it that I could do a six-figure launch, but then this person would say, I could just do this webinar and in a few hours make $60,000. And my brain was just like, no, that's impossible. But then a few years later, I did my first webinar. I think it was in 2003. And since then I've done hundreds and hundreds of webinars, and they're pretty cool. And these days, like, what is a webinar? Is it a Zoom? Is it showing slides, or what is it? But at the end of the day, what it is, at least in this industry, it's primarily about bringing people on, making a presentation, delivering some level of content, and then making an offer. And there are formulas for this, and there are ways to do it. And of course, there's those key moments. I mean, first of all, there's the piece about getting them to show up live. And that's gotten so much harder in the last few years. Back at the beginning of COVID, everyone would show up for anything. It was really easy getting people on, but it's gotten harder. It's absolutely gotten harder to get people to show up. So there's getting them to show up. Then there's the first few moments of your webinar where you're bringing them into your world. And, that's setting those hooks and getting people to stick around that's a crucial key piece. And then there's the part that everyone loves, which is the teaching part. You get into the teaching, but how you structure that teaching is super important for when it comes down to your offer. It's absolutely critical that the teaching naturally leads into the sale. It's critical that you don't get carried away and do too much teaching and go too long and start to add in irrelevant stuff. So the teaching's important. Everyone loves to do it. Then there's the part that a lot of people, most people, I think, are uncomfortable with, and that's the part about making the offer. And if you do it right, the structure of your webinar will do the heavy lifting for you. So when you get to, it's not some big, trumpets have to blare and the skies have to open for you to make that offer. If you've done it right, then the transition into the offer is very simple, very natural. It's not like there's some monster jumping out of the closet. And the way you structure your offer is going to make an incredible difference in how you actually do. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like you have to be some magic salesperson. It's not like you're selling sand in the desert. If you do this right, if you get the structure right, if you get the transition to the offer right, and then you make your offer, and then you give people a compelling reason to act. And hopefully a compelling reason to act before the webinar is over. And then, of course, there's the follow-up, the post-webinar follow-up, and typically we'll see a very large percentage of the sales come in after the webinar. So there's all these discrete key pieces. I've done, I don't know how many dozens or hundreds of webinars. I've gotten pretty good at it, but this is the great thing about the position I'm in, is I've got so many amazing students. And so Dylan Frost is in my community. He's in my Plat Plus mastermind. He's been in it for years. He's brilliant. And he came into our mastermind and he taught for an hour. Normally in my mastermind, like all the talks are like maybe 20 minutes long, because it's such a high-powered room that keeping people's attention beyond 20 minutes is pretty hard. Dylan came in our last meeting and did a 60-minute presentation that was just blew people away. And a couple of the pieces that he shared, I took directly into my launch. So, I did a big launch about a month ago. It was super successful. And part of that launch was we did live broadcasts. Another term for a live broadcast might be a webinar. So we did a couple of webinars, and I changed the structure of how I ended those webinars, and based on what I learned from Dylan, and the results were absolutely amazing. In fact, there's several shifts I made. One of them was turning off the chat. So if you were part of my last launch, you might have noticed we didn't have a public chat role. People could still type in comments and I could see them and my team could see them, but we didn't have this public chat role going. And the idea was, everyone loves to watch that chat, and in some ways it makes it more engaging. And in some ways it's great because then all my fans can show up, everyone from my community can show up and just cheer me on, and they can say great things about me. But I also in the last year, started to feel like that chat role was like a crazy distraction. And so Dylan's like, yeah, well, no, we just don't do the chat role. So we know what, we turned it off. No one complained. A few people were confused. No one complained. I thought it made the webinars, it made the live broadcast so much better, so much more powerful, and our results were just off the charts. That was one of the tweaks, also how we ended the webinar. So Dylan is going to be doing a webinar where he's basically going to go through more or less the presentation he did it for my Plat Plus mastermind. And again, those people are all people that have multi-million-dollar businesses up to, 10 and 20, $30 million businesses. And he had them spellbound for over an hour. And so Dylan's going to be doing that webinar. There'll be a link somewhere, down below the video. Click through it, check it out. Dylan he's brilliant. I love him because he's part of my community. He's done incredible things and he's got some amazing stuff for you. And of course, at the end, he'll make an offer, but he's going to go deep and it's going to be awesome, and you should go check it out. So yeah, there'll be a link down below. Click that link, go get registered. Be sure to show up live. He'll make it worth your while. And let's go get him this week.